Hello and welcome to Menlo Atherton High School's Aequora Club YouTube series. This is episode 1, and today we will be telling the story of Icarus and Daedalus. My name is Sadie Almgren, and the other person telling the story is named Cate, and you will meet her later on in the video. We are telling the story of Icarus and Daedalus. This is a myth from ancient Greece, and it's about how Icarus, a young boy who is the son of Daedalus, had a lot of hubris, and he did not listen to what Daedalus, his father, told him to do, and he suffered the consequences from that. So, do any of you know what hubris means? It's okay if you don't. Hubris is a idea, it's kind of an attitude that characters have again and again in a bunch of Greek stories. And basically, when someone has hubris, it means that they think they're better than everyone, and they think that they are the best, and they think they're too good to listen to what other people have to say, and it usually gets them in trouble. So, as we tell the story, please think about how hubris affects the plot of what happens to Icarus. So, Cate's going to take it away with the beginning of the story.
On the island of Crete during the age of King Minos, there lived a man named Daedalus and his young son Icarus. Daedalus was just an ordinary man, except for one special talent. He was an inventor of strange and wonderful mechanical creations. Now this was a very long time ago, and in the ancient time there was no television or cars or clocks. Instead of television, people learned what was new in the land by listening to the gossip at the local inn. Instead of cars, people got from place to place by walking, or if they were wealthy enough, to be riding on a horse. Instead of clocks, people kept time by using sundials.
And so, the tiny mechanical bird that chirped when the sun rose, which this bird was given by Daedalus to the newborn princess to celebrate her birth. This bird became the talk of everyone in the land. Everyone liked and wanted this bird. So King Minos, this guy, approached Daedalus. He went to Daedalus and he asked him if he'd be able to invent something that's a little less pretty than the bird and more useful. And Daedalus said yes. So Daedalus came up with the idea of creating a labyrinth. A labyrinth is like a huge maze cave type thing. And he wanted to make this labyrinth to hold a certain monster as a prisoner. So this monster is called the Minotaur. The Minotaur is a half man, half bull monster who is kind of wreaking havoc. He was destroying a bunch of stuff around. So he wanted to have a good way to hold this monster as prisoner. So this monster looked like this. He had like bull horns and bull hooves, and he was really strong, and he was really mean. And he was just an overall evil monster. So Daedalus' idea to hold him in a labyrinth that kind of looks like that, it's kind of like a maze, a cave type thing, was a really good idea. So King Minos really liked the idea of holding this monster inside a labyrinth. And he was like, yeah, Daedalus, go for it. I really like this idea. So Daedalus started to do what he wanted to do and create this labyrinth. Unfortunately, King Minos was really greedy. He really liked money, and he wanted to keep Daedalus's skill as a crafter, as a artisan, all for himself, all for his own good, so he can make a bunch of money. So what he did is he took all of his guards, all of the guards working for him, and he sent them to go get Daedalus. Get Daedalus. What's happening? Get Daedalus and take Daedalus and his son Icarus and lock them away. So The guards followed what they were told to do, and they locked Icarus and Daedalus away in a huge cave on top of a rock in the sea. And this cave was far high above the sea, so it was really hard to get to. And another thing that made it even harder to get to was the labyrinth that Daedalus had made to put the monster in was right in front of the cave. So you had to go, if you wanted to go visit Icarus or Daedalus, you'd have to go into the sea, go into the labyrinth, and then into their cave. But inside the labyrinth was the monster. So it was pretty impossible to get in or out of the cave where Icarus and Daedalus were as prisoners. Also, there were little soldiers who were stationed at the front of the labyrinth, and they were kind of protecting it from all people coming in. So King Minos was holding Icarus and Daedalus prisoner right here in this cave.
Daedalus didn't mind his imprisonment at first. Whatever Daedalus needed, King Minos provided without question. Food, drink, tools of all shapes, rare metals, leather, parchment, and even candles so he could work late into the night. Daedalus lived happily for many years, working away on an endless variety of wondrous inventions, and young Icarus, although sometimes bored, was usually quite happy helping out his father and playing with the mechanical toys Daedalus made for him. It wasn't until Icarus became a teenager that Daedalus began to wonder if being locked away was the best thing for his son, and Icarus, tired of the cold, damp cave, began to complain that he had no hope of a life for his son.
So, on Icarus's 16th birthday, Icarus broke into a rage. He was really angry and he told his dad, "But father, I want an adventure, maybe even to meet a girl, and I can have my own son. I can't very well ask a wife to come live with me in this lonely cave over the sea. I hate this cave. I hate the king, and I hate you." Well, of course, Icarus apologized later for saying such mean things to his father, but insisted that he couldn't stand being cooped up in the cave any longer. So, the next time that King Minos came to visit Icarus and Daedalus in their cave, Daedalus approached the king nervously, and he said, "Your Majesty, surely you must see that Icarus is becoming a young man. You can't plan to keep him locked away for his entire life. Please, sir, let him join your royal guard and seek a life in your service." So basically, he's asking the king if Icarus can leave the cave and work as a guard for the king.
The king raised an eyebrow and stared thoughtfully out the opening of the cave. "I shall consider your request. Now, if you please, show me again your idea for a great mechanical man." The king didn't really have to think too long about it. He knew right away that he didn't want to let either Daedalus or Icarus go. Who could know whether Icarus would have his father's talents? After all, Icarus had watched and learned from his father for his entire life. Under no circumstances did he want another kingdom to get their hands on mechanical workers that Daedalus created, and that Icarus might someday produce.
So a few weeks later, King Minos returned to Icarus and Daedalus with his answer to Daedalus' question. He said, "Icarus provides the greatest service to our realm by keeping you company here." And Daedalus begged King Minos, and he goes, "But please, you can keep me here, but take my son." But Daedalus' pleas were not answered. Minos roared, "Enough! The decision has been made. I will have no arguments." And Daedalus turns to Icarus and to explain that there was nothing to be done, but when he saw the heartbroken look on Icarus's face, Daedalus' heart broke as well, and he vowed that he would do everything in his power to make his boy happy again. So he started to trying to come up with ideas on how to make Icarus feel better.
Daedalus stood out on the entrance of the cave overlooking the sea, watching the waves crash on the rocks below and the seagulls circle over the cliffs. It was spring, and the nests on the cliffs were filled with eggs and chicks. Icarus walked up behind his father and said softly, "How I envy those baby birds, for soon their wings will be strong, and they'll be able to fly away from this wretched place."
Daedalus blinked at his son's comment, and a smile slowly grew on his face. He turned to Icarus and he said, "Well then, my little fledgling, we'd best start working on strengthening your wings so you can be off with the others." And he started to craft something. So, first, Daedalus used strips of leather and a bunch of small little twigs to make a broom and a large net. So, Icarus would be in this broom and he would be dangling off the side of a cliff, holding on with this broom and this net, kind of using it as a harness, and he would go down and try to sweep up all the feathers and all the little nests for the seagulls down by these cliffs that are near the don't want that don't near the water. So he would swoop down and collect as many feathers as he could and take them back and just go out again and again collecting all these feathers.
While Icarus was busy with feathers, Daedalus created thin tubes of light metal, which he used to form the frame of 2 pairs of man-sized wings. He used leather straps to create a harness and pulleys to allow the wearer to flap and tilt the wings in various directions. Then he took the feathers that Icarus had collected and used candle wax to begin to attach the feathers to the light metal frames. 2 frames, Icarus smiled happily at his father. "Are you coming too?"
But Daedalus clasped his son on the shoulder and replied, "I am, my son. Thank you for reminding me that of all my creations, you are the most important to me. I'm sorry that it's taken me so long to free us both." It was a lot of work that Icarus had put in collecting all of the feathers, but once he did, the wings were finally finished. There were 2 pairs, one for Icarus and one for Daedalus, and they were finished.
The day they were to leave, Daedalus lectured Icarus one last time. "Now, son, remember, you must be cautious when we fly. Fly too close to the ocean, and your wings will become too heavy with the water that sprays off from the waves. Fly close to the sun, and the wax will melt, and you will lose feathers. Follow my path closely, and you'll be fine." Icarus nodded and excitedly slid his arms into the harness. He listened absently as his father explained how to open the wings wide to catch the air currents and how to use the pulleys to steer. With an eager hug, "Good luck," Daedalus and Icarus stepped into the entrance of the cave overlooking the sea, spread their wings as wide as they would go, and leaped, one after the other, put over the ocean.
And as if it had been waiting for him, the wind caught up Icarus's wings, and almost immediately he soared up into the sky. Oh, what freedom! Icarus threw his head back and laughed as the startled seagulls dodged away from him and then swooped back, squawking warnings when he steered too close to the nesting cliffs. Daedalus, as they were flying, Daedalus shouted to his son, "Be careful! Stop playing with the birds and follow him toward the shore of an island in the distance." But Icarus was having too much fun. He was tired of always looking for his father, always listening to his endless lectures, and Icarus was thrilled with his sudden freedom.
He watched the seagulls rise on the air currents high up over the sea and thought to himself, "Careful? The birds aren't careful. They're happy. They're free. Oh, what a glorious adventure this is. The sun is so warm and the breeze tugs at my wings as if even the wind is happy I'm finally loose. I can't believe I've been missing this for all these years, trapped in that cold, damp cave." And with that, he followed the seagulls up, up, up and away into the sky. "No, Icarus, stop," shouted Daedalus. "The wax will melt if it gets too warm. Not so high, not so high."
But Icarus was too far away or too lost in his own happy thoughts of excitement to listen to his father's warnings as he flew still higher and higher and higher. He began to feel the warm wax dripping down his arms and saw the feathers falling like snowflakes. His wings were melting. Remembering his father's lectures, Icarus realized the horror of his mistake. He began trying to work the pulleys to tilt his wings back down to the sea, but as he did so, he just saw more and more and more feathers falling off, and the wax was still melting, and he began to lose height more quickly than he had wanted to. Working the pulleys even more frantically, Icarus flapped the wings, trying to slow his fall, but the harder he flapped, the more feathers detached from the flames of his wings.
As Daedalus watched in horror, Icarus plunged towards the sea, frantically flapping the pulleys with his arms. When he finally hit the water, there wasn't a feather left attached. Daedalus landed as quickly as he could on the beach near where Icarus had fallen, but the only sign of his poor child was a few feathers floating in the waves. Daedalus crumpled to the sand, his face in his hands, for he knew his son was dead. After many months, when Daedalus began to recover from his grief, he named the island Icaria in memory of his son. On the beach where he landed, he built a temple to the sun god Apollo, and inside it hung the wings he had created, vowing to never fly again.
And as you can see, Icarus did not listen to his father's warnings because he had too much hubris and he thought he was too good to listen to the warnings, but he suffered because of that. So that is the end of the story of Icarus and Daedalus. We have a closing activity for you. So what we want you to think about is, what if Icarus's wings were not made out of wax? As you can recall, his wings were made out of wax and they started to melt as he flew too high up into the sun. Can you come up with something else, a different material that Icarus's wings could be made out of, that would make him not die because he flew too close to the sun? So here's an example. So what you should do is draw Icarus, whatever you want, however you want him to look, and draw his wings but made out of something else. Here's an example. What if his wings were made out of wood? The wood would not melt when he got too close to the sun, and he would be more successful. But what are the drawbacks of his wings being made out of wood? How would that affect him in a negative way? Please comment down below or make your own drawing about this situation and how you think Icarus and Daedalus could improve the design of the wings and to make sure that Icarus did not die when he flew too close to the sun. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the story of Icarus and Daedalus. Cate and I had a great time making this video and making a story. Definitely look out for more videos on this channel. We will be making them every week or so look out for that. Please excuse our not so great art skills that you saw throughout this video. We tried our best to do it while we were talking, and yeah, so have a great day and look out for more videos.